Yesterday was Tuesday, which means TBS was broadcasting their weekly MLB game. This week, the Yankees were hosting the Rays in a game Tampa won 3-1. But the big story from this broadcast had nothing to do with the actual game and more to do with the conversation the crew was having beforehand. So for anyone who doesn't know, the panel on TBS consists of Curtis Granderson, Ernie Johnson, Jimmy Rollins, and Pedro Martinez, who before the game were discussing the recent Fernando Tatis Jr. suspension. And during this segment, Pedro had what I think is objectively a bad take. Before I break it down, welcome to the War Room, a channel where I discuss all things baseball, and consider subbing if you're new. So the entire segment was about 6 minutes, but in this video, I'm going to break down what I felt was important, so here we go.
If you were sitting, Pedro, with Fernando Tatis Jr. face to face right here, your message to him is?
You have no excuses. I'm extremely disappointed at you because you know how to read. You know the program, you know the protocol, you know what to do, you know how to read in English, you know how to read in Spanish, you're educated, you have a big league father that knows the protocol, you have all the reasons in the world to be blamed for what's happening to you.
Now to Pedro's credit, he did acknowledge what Fernando did was wrong and there's no excuse for it. So I don't want this video to come off like Pedro was defending his actions in any way, because he wasn't. The problem for me specifically was when he said this.
Since he got hurt, San Diego's been on top of him. This is where I have to give him a pass because San Diego should have known what this kid is putting on his body, but whether it was ringworm or whether it was a flu. He's too valuable to the organization.
You're saying in part the Padres are at fault?
The Padres need to know exactly what he puts on 24/7.
Should they know that about everybody on their roster? What they're putting on their body?
They should.
So Pedro believes the Padres organization is partly responsible for this suspension because Tatis wasn't being supervised when he took the medication, then proceeded to press Jimmy Rollins, saying he doesn't know where Fernando was when he took it. Pedro thinks maybe Tatis was possibly at the stadium and someone from the Padres could have stopped him.
This is a decision that he made at home, about or brought wherever he was.
How do you know he was at home?
He wasn't in San Diego at the
How do
stadium.
you know that?
So assuming the ringworm story is real and we're going with that, I highly doubt Tatis was publicly applying the medication. It's not like he's in the middle of the Padres locker room with dozens of people around to stop him. If you want to know why I think that, it's because ringworm is a contagious infection, especially in locker rooms. So the one place that Pedro is implying Fernando was at, even if it was somewhere else in the stadium, is literally one of the worst places to be for someone with that specific infection. Tatis has proved himself to be a pretty dumb guy, but I don't think he's that dumb where he would bring a contagious infection anywhere near his team. So I think it's pretty safe to say he took the medication on his own time away from everyone. Assuming that's the case, this isn't Big Brother or The Truman Show. It's not humanly possible to spy on one of your players, let alone everyone on the entire roster. So the fact Pedro thinks that that's something that's a legitimate scenario where the Padres failed to do their due diligence just isn't realistic. Secondly, we're dismissing the fact that Fernando Tatis Jr. signed a $340 million contract last year. That's a lot of money you're giving to a player who you're claiming needs a babysitter to watch his every move 24/7. Later on, Curtis Granderson made an amazing point saying this.
One thing though, and I want everyone to know this, you can Google the joint drug agreement. It's in English, it's in Spanish, it's available worldwide. Just go on your phone, type in Major League Baseball joint drug agreement. It has all the rules and regulations on there.
And then Pedro responded with this.
That's why I'm not making excuses for him.
He knows he made a mistake.
But some of those kids don't have computers. They don't know how to get and Google the MLB app where the drugs are, where everything is harming to them.
Saying that Dominican players can't afford computers to look up the banned substance list, I'm not going to argue with that. Maybe he's right, so I'll take his word for it. But that doesn't apply to Fernando, a 23-year-old millionaire who has every doctor in California at his fingertips. And again, Pedro said he wasn't making excuses for him, I get that. But the fact that he's going, by the way, I'm not making an excuse for the guy, but this is a real problem in the Dominican Republic, either sounds like A, he is making an excuse for him, or B, he's just presenting an argument that isn't relevant to this situation at all. So I don't agree with Fernando getting a pass. I personally think his pass came when he was joyriding on a motorcycle in the offseason, which ended in a broken wrist, because 90% of the league is getting let go if that happens to them. But let me know what you think about this take from Pedro in the comments. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Leave a like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.